In the news tonight, the United Arab Emirates F-16 jets resume airstrikes against Daesh targets alongside the US-led coalition, hitting various positions and returning safely to base in Jordan. The first ever Palestinian embassy in Western Europe opens in Sweden just months after Stockholm became the first EU capital to recognize Palestine as a state. And Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Vladimir Putin stressed their commitment to fighting the threat of terrorism during the Russian president's first visit to Egypt in 10 years. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. United Arab Emirates F-16 jets based in Jordan resumed airstrikes alongside the coalition against Daesh targets. A squadron of UAE F-16s landed in Jordan on Sunday in support of Jordan and the coalition in the fight against the terrorist group, according to the Joint Combined Task Force. And since early yesterday, the US-led coalition struck 4 units of Daesh terrorists amid 11 strikes in Iraq. A statement released today said the strikes near 7 Iraqi cities, including Tal Afar, Kirkuk and Baji, also hit a bunker, fighting positions, a checkpoint and other targets. The coalition against terror also conducted 1 airstrike in Deir ez-Zor in Syria. The death of Kyla Mueller, a U.S. aid worker who had been held hostage by Daesh, is confirmed. U.S. President Barack Obama confirmed to the media her death, saying the United States would find and bring to justice the terrorists who are responsible for her captivity and death. In a statement released by the White House, Obama described the group as a hateful and abhorrent terrorist group. Both Jordan and the U.S. have expressed doubt about accounts that Mueller was killed when Jordanian fighter jets bombed Daesh targets outside the Raqqa, the stronghold of the terrorist group. In recent months, the group has beheaded 3 other Americans, 2 Britons and 2 Japanese hostages, most of them aid workers or journalists. Meanwhile, the U.S. president has requested Congress for new authority to use force against Daesh. And according to White House sources, the final text of Obama's request is still in the works. Over the past month, the White House has been in a series of extensive discussions with lawmakers over the issue. The Czech President, Miloš Zeman, who arrived in Amman yesterday on a several-day visit to the kingdom, voiced his country's solidarity with Jordan following the murder of Jordanian pilot Muad al-Kasasbeh by Daesh terrorists. In remarks at the conclusion of the Jordanian-Czech Business Forum in Amman, the Czech president described the killing of the Jordanian pilot as a crime against humanity and affirmed the need for solidarity with Jordan by deeds and not by words. He said in recognition of His Majesty the King's courageous fight against terror, his country is to bestow the Order of the White Lion Medal upon King Abdullah. The White Lion Medal is the Czech Republic's highest decoration. On the sidelines of the forum, the Jordan Atomic Energy Commission and the Czech Nuclear Research Center signed a cooperation agreement in the field of nuclear studies and research. Another memorandum of understanding was signed between the Jordan Chamber of Commerce and the Czech Confederation of Industry. A meeting between His Majesty and Zeman takes place tomorrow. Interior Minister Hussein al-Majali met with the Czech head of police, Thomas Tuhi, who is among a delegation accompanying the Czech president on a visit to Jordan. Majali said the guests discussed ways to strengthen policing and security cooperation between the 2 countries, especially to combat terrorism, extremism and organized crime. The meeting also touched on the Syria crisis and its negative impact at the national, regional and international levels. The Czech official said Jordan has a key role in addressing various regional issues and challenges and voiced his country's desire to develop closer ties and coordination with Jordan, especially in the area of public security. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour voiced the government's full support to the Anti-Corruption Commission (ACC) in its efforts to address corruption cases and refer them to the courts. During a visit to ACC, Mansour told the Commission President Abed Kharabshi and board members that his visit aims to deliver a message of support from the executive authority and show the government's determination to fight graft. He urged action against cronyism, noting that social justice helps raise the morale of the people, enhance their confidence in the state, and preserve the peace. Her Majesty Queen Rania visited the Queen Rania Family and Child Centre, which provides awareness programs for children and youth, as well as parents and professionals on child safety and protection. Queen Rania sat with a group of children and discussed with them such values as citizenship and governance, patriotism, and Islam. The session focused on the youth's perspective of the latest events on society and how the youth can play a role in changing stereotypes about Islam and reinforce the values of citizenship and inclusion. Her Majesty highlighted the need for youth to have a space to capitalize on their talents and where they can find common objectives that serve Jordan and the true image of Islam. The centre includes a computer lab and helpline service on child safety, a nursery, and an interactive library. The Palestinian National Authority opened an embassy in the Swedish capital Stockholm this evening. Aiming to cement closer bilateral ties, the move comes months after Sweden became the first Western European country to recognize Palestine as a state. In his first visit to Sweden since the recognition in October, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called on other countries to follow Sweden's lead. In most Western countries, Palestine has a diplomatic mission, not a full embassy. Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven promised more aid for Palestine, but stressed he wanted progress on reform. A deal signed by the two leaders will see Sweden raise aid to Palestine by almost $180 million over the next 5 years.
President Abbas and I have talked about, of course, the serious situation in Palestine, especially in Gaza. We have talked about our bilateral relations, the next step in the peace processes, the Palestinian state-building process also, and how Sweden can contribute, but also what Sweden expects of Palestine. In addition, we have made demands regarding the implementation of our development cooperation with good control, respect for human rights, the fight against corruption, for gender equality, and also to continued reform efforts.
Over to Syria, where the Syrian army is said to have gained ground from rebels in the south in what is described as a large-scale offensive in the region backed by Lebanese Hezbollah fighters against terrorists, including Al-Qaeda's Syrian wing. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the operation started 2 days ago and aims to take a triangle of rebel-held territory from rural areas southwest of Damascus to Dar'a city to Qneitra. Hezbollah's Al-Manar news channel said government forces captured the town of Deir al-Hadas, and Syrian state television said the town of Dinaji between Damascus and the southern boundary town of Qneitra was taken and terrorists were eliminated. Syrian media also said the army killed terrorists near the town of Sheikh Maskin, close to the main north-south highway between Damascus and the Jordanian border. On a visit to Egypt, his first in 10 years, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he expects there would be a new round of talks on the Syrian conflict, following on from a meeting of opposition figures and the Syrian government in Moscow last month. Putin made the remarks at a joint news conference with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Cairo, following talks on the Syria crisis, regional developments, as well as security challenges facing their countries.
قد أكدنا في هذا المجال.
We have confirmed that in this field we are standing side by side to face these challenges. In the shadow of the spread of the wicked terrorism that the whole world is suffering from, I have agreed with the Russian president that the terrorism challenge faced by Egypt and that was faced by Russia too does not stop at any borders.
The leader of the Houthi rebel group, which has seized power in Yemen, said it is in everyone's interest to restore stability to the country. In a televised speech, Abdel Malik al-Houthi said Yemen is an important, large country rich in resources which its people don't benefit from, adding that it is in the interest of every power, domestic and foreign, to stabilize the country. And amid the turmoil in Yemen since the resignation of President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, the U.S. Embassy in Sana'a closed down. U.S. Embassy staff said the ambassador informed them that Washington may ask the Turkish or Algerian embassies in Sana'a to look after U.S. interests in the country while the embassy was closed. After a record-setting string of snowstorms hammered the northeastern United States in the past 2 weeks, roofs collapsed under the weight of snow in the Boston area today. Schools around the area also remained closed as crews struggled to clear roadways after a 3-day storm dropped about 60 centimeters across the region and warned that the weight of the snow could result in roof collapses. All rail services shut down as limited bus service continued. Officials could not say when full transit services would resume on the system, which carries about 950,000 riders on a typical weekday. This has been the area's snowiest 30-day period on record. Much of eastern Massachusetts has received 1.8 meters snow so far this year, making for the 9th snowiest winter on record. The families of 2 French girls who were accidentally switched at birth 20 years ago have been awarded nearly €2 million in damages. The clinic involved in the mix-up was ordered to compensate both girls, their parents and siblings. As babies, the 2 girls were treated in the same incubator and were then given to the wrong parents. Both mothers expressed doubt at the time about their babies because of their different skin tone and hair length. However, they were sent home anyway. The error was discovered 10 years ago, but neither family wanted to swap the girls back. After an investigation, the 2 families made contact with each other and eventually took the case to court.
Ça fait du bien. Non, la sauce, j'en ai rien à faire, honnêtement. Elle changera rien et...
Sky Sports and BT Sport have won the UK television rights to show 126 live English Premier League matches a season from 2016 to 2019 for a total value of £5.136 billion. Following one of the most highly anticipated broadcast auctions of recent times, the Premier League said Sky had won 5 of the 7 packages of rights, with BT winning the last 2. BT will pay £960 million for their 3-year contract. Combined, the 2 firms will pay well above the £4 billion analysts had expected for the 3-year rights deal. After 3 days of bidding, Sky won the key Sunday afternoon games, while BT will show Saturday evening matches. Paris Saint-Germain and Sweden soccer stars Zlatan Ibrahimovic joined the droves of celebrities that have been immortalized in wax at Paris's acclaimed Musique Revin Wax Museum. Ibrahimovic walks double stands at an intimidating 1.95 meters with both arms raised to the sky, holding up both index fingers, one of Ibrahimovic's favorite post-goal poses. The wax work took 6 months to create, and Ibrahimovic was involved throughout the process, posing for molds and having his measurements taken. The wax work will find its permanent home next to French rally driver Sébastien Loeb and basketball player Tony Parker. And finally, for a quick look at the weather, cold and partly cloudy tonight with a chance for thunder and rain in the northern regions. Winds will be southwesterly brisk, stirring dust in the desert areas. A tangible drop in temperature is expected tomorrow, with a continued chance for thunderstorms in the northern parts, gradually extending to the central parts of the kingdom. Snowfall is also expected in the northern and central hilly areas. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect dusty conditions tomorrow with southerly fresh winds and choppy seas. The weatherman warns of high winds, poor visibility due to dust and flash floods in low-lying areas in the northern and central regions. Here now to look at temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. The United Arab Emirates F-16 jets resume airstrikes against Daesh targets alongside the US-led coalition, hitting various positions and returning safely to base in Jordan. The first ever Palestinian embassy in Western Europe opens in Sweden just months after Stockholm became the first EU capital to recognize Palestine as a state. And Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Vladimir Putin stressed their commitment to fighting the threat of terrorism during the Russian president's first visit to Egypt in 10 years. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alia Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.